Well, good morning again. This is going to be my narrative of day 103. Day 103. Once again, woke up, got going pre-dawn, still quite dark. It was quite cold. I was getting some frost crystals in my water bottles, which I had kept with me in the tent. So I'm sure the temperature outside was several degrees below freezing during the night. But I got up, once again, beautifully clear sky. I could still see the planet with its close bright star conjunction. No moon. Got going pretty much when it got light enough to operate without a headlamp. And I started going through some area that reminded me not so much of California, but of Montana rangeland on the CDT. The landscape is really sort of changing now for me. And I started going through, when I got out of the rangeland, it would go in and out of some fairly significant forest areas, but the trees were such that they were all very sort of separated with virtually no undergrowth at all, giving it a real park-like sense. The soil was all reduced granite, a lot of very loose, basically gravel and sand. And so that may contribute. I was also wondering if the trees themselves, basically preclude some of the other smaller plants from surviving in that area. One thing that I noted was the trees that were predominant in that area were short-needled, but they had a beautiful mottled, deep fissured bark, and I can't tell you the species because I'm such a poor biologist, even though I majored in biology. But one thing that I noticed was a lot of the trees had only bark on, half of the tree, sometimes only a third of the tree. But as long as the bark was healthy on one side, the tree survived. And, it's growing needles, the xylem and phloem go up and down that part of the tree, whereas the other half, sometimes 2/3, sometimes even 3/4 of the tree is gone, and you're just looking at basically the heartwood. And then I noticed that the side that was eroded away or no longer living on these trees, not every tree by any means, but let's say every 10th tree was like this. But the part that was missing was always on the west side. And it occurred to me that the west side is where the predominant winds come from here in California. And so that side of the tree gets the brunt of every storm and can kill off the xylem and phloem and the bark on that side of the tree. The tree may survive, but it was very interesting, sort of, and it was almost invariable that was the side that was the missing bark. There were no high passes, but there was a fair amount of up and down, but it was all very gradual, 100, 200 feet up, 100, 200 feet down. But I could tell that probably the total elevation gain and loss was maybe, even average. In the afternoon, I came across a notice from, I believe it would be the Sequoia National Park local district ranger, alerting people to the prevalence of bears and to secure their food. and what to do. And what the ranger suggested was, if you see a bear, immediately start chasing it and act like you're going to kill it and eat it, and the bear will panic and run away. And I burst out laughing when I read this, and it was posted in more than one place, by the way. And I'm not sure that's park policy, though, because I think there are regulations against harassing any wildlife, including bears. But I could understand where the ranger was coming from, that it is in the interest of the Park Service to have bears fear humans and to run away when they see one. In the afternoon, I went by the access points to Mount Whitney, where I stopped 4 years ago and camped, and then went up and back down right near the PCT. So that is the southern terminus of the John Muir Trail. So I said to myself, well, I'm not going to be seeing any more John Muir Trail hikers. It's all just going to be PCTers here. Continued on, and still, not much elevation gain and loss, no more high passes or anything like that. But then I realized that I was still up at elevation. I was operating around 11,000 feet, which is the height of some of the passes that I was going through just when I was entering Yosemite Park. And I believe Donahue Pass is at 11,000 feet. Well, that was like the base of where I was operating. And there was one other thing from the day. Oh, yes. So the other great development for the day is at one point, once again, I had to turn on my phone because there was a split in the trail, and there was not any good signage, and I didn't know which way to go. And so I started going down one trail, and I made it about a quarter mile, and I said, I need to find out, am I on the PCT or am I not on the PCT? So I turned on my phone, got a geolocation. Then I realized I was going to have to go 4.4 miles, and I had virtually no water. And it was a reminder to me that I am now entering the area where prevalent water is not a given. And I'm going to have to rethink this. And this was reiterated to me when I had a dry camp that night. And I have about 1.75 liters of water capacity, which is not going to hack it at all in the desert section. You need to have, even for me, in cool weather, I'm going to need 4 or 5 liters of water, water carrying capacity, because the water sources are going to be much fewer and further between. So that was the day. That was the day. Cold, high, but no dramatic passes or anything like that, and leaving the JMTers behind.